This is shaping up to be another eBay score. Once again, it's not an earth-shattering deal, like the earth-shattering magnificence of chair desk. But it is a solid find that I can likely flip for $25 to $30. This time it was $35 for this PC, the HP Elitedesk 800G3. Typically that's about what you'll find this model for, bare bones. But this listing is complete with CPU, RAM, everything but an SSD, or so it says. We'll test it out, but if this is as listed, this could be a surprisingly good price. We've been on a pretty good streak with the eBay games. If you're new to the series, I browse eBay in the 4 parts or not working section looking for cheap PCs to potentially fix up. In the past, I've usually had to do some level of work on them, but lately I've been finding several deals where the PC isn't actually broken, but is often just missing components that can usually be added for cheap. I'm hoping this will be a similar situation. When I first unboxed this, I was pretty surprised by the condition it was in. I'm not seeing any deep scratches or serious defects. It has these stupid stickers, but I'll take care of that down the line. Once I take care of that, it'll actually be pretty clean appearance-wise. Which isn't a huge deal, but a solid appearance does help with resale. And again, we're hoping for a quick flip. A quick... No, don't flip me again! Flip! He knows what he did. Alright, first we'll try to boot from a live USB version of Batocera. If this is only missing a hard drive, as described, we should be able to run the system this way. It's looking good so far, everything booted properly, so I'm just going into the system menu, and it does look like it came with the hardware that was listed. So yeah, everything's solid so far. Basic functionality is a go, so let's crack it open and install an SSD. Let's crack it open. As far as the specs go, we have the i5-6500, which is a 4-core, 4-thread CPU, base clock rate 3.2 GHz, 3.6 GHz turbo boost. And before we install the SSD, here's something pretty cool. This came with 8 GB of memory, but it's actually a stick of 2666 MHz RAM, which is a higher speed than the CPU can even run. So I'm going to replace that with a couple 4 GB sticks of 2133 MHz RAM that I have laying around, and pocket the 2666 MHz stick for myself. I'm sure I'll find use for it in a build that can actually utilize that full speed. Now, ideally, you would probably want at least 16 GB if you're doing more intense computing, but 8 GB is fine for basic web browsing and everyday use type stuff, which is really the target of this device. As usual with these office PCs where I'm not adding dedicated graphics or doing more serious upgrades, I'll just list this as for everyday use, basic web browsing, video playback when I try to offload it. One other thing of note is that this model does have an M.2 slot for an SSD, which is always awesome. I deal with a lot of older computers from this era, and they're usually pretty hit or miss on if they have an M.2 slot. It isn't as big of a deal in this situation, but if I was trying to really push this device, that would be one of the key factors in if I even found it worthwhile to mess with. Now, everything should be ready to roll, so I'm going to install Windows, and then we'll just do some quick, basic testing. Going through the install process, and I will be stealing GoodMonkey's highly secretive password recovery setup methodology. Don't tell him. Once all that's done, I'm going through these slew of upgrades to make sure we're getting our full performance and we're not bogged down by that. Once again, for our test, we're just playing multiple videos from some clown, 1080p, several running at once. None of this basic stuff is going to be an issue for this machine. This is a really good device for this kind of everyday use type stuff. So I still need to scrape the remnants of all these stickers off, but overall this is a pretty solid deal. It looks pretty nice, it runs really well, and I didn't even need to bust out the pool noodle. I said I didn't need to, not that I didn't want to. Overall, this turned out pretty well. I can probably make a few bucks off it, and I'm pretty satisfied with this purchase. Another fun installment for the eBay game series. I appreciate you watching. I'll catch you later.